Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I'm very happy and excited to bring this incredible Channel cybersecurity event to our partner across EMEA. My name is Daniel Hurel, and I'm the Vice President EMEA for Cybersecurity and Next Generation Solutions. So innovate to differentiate. First, technology innovation. We will help you to discover the highest growth security markets in partnership with our best-in-class security vendors. Today, we will address the next-gen SOC and the IoT OT security market. We will go through also channel innovation. Listen, and I hope that you will influence our leadership channel panels later today. Then we will go to the security innovation. I hope that you will get inspired by our keynote speaker. Today it will be Stuart Wilson from IDC. Then I will be very happy to celebrate our partnership. So please join us on Thursday for our Westcon Security Partner Award ceremony. Now, I would like these 3 days and a few hours during the 3 days to be very interactive. So besides our formal agenda, during which you will be able to get your input using the tech chat, but also you could reach a large number of virtual booths where you can, of course, have live chat with some experts or make some private texts, because there is a lot of content to discover. Don't forget to join our virtual treasure hunt. By finding the treasure shields, you will be able to have a chance to win a Galaxy S21 or an iPhone 12. During the break, we have some breaks. Test your brain and speed with our memory game to win some prizes. And this is possible thanks to Attack IQ, our breach and attack simulation technology partner. Now, let's kick off this great agenda today by reflecting on our extraordinary 2020, but what 2021 has in store, and that will be presented by our Chief Executive Officer, David Graham. David, up to you.
Daniel, thank you. Thank you very much for the introduction, and good morning to everyone. I'm just delighted to be able to join the Imagine event today. In fact, this is the fourth Imagine, I think the fifth Imagine event that I've attended now in the space of 12 months. New Zealand was our first event, then down in sub-Saharan Africa, Middle East, and also into Germany. And I've attended all of those events from this chair. So when we talk about the innovation that we've seen and that we want to continue to drive, I think this very event and the virtual conference platform venue that the Westcon team have created absolutely reflects how our very thoughts about how we run and manage our business and how we engage with our partners and our vendors has been challenged over the last 12 months. So the innovation that we brought, allowing 1,300 attendees to join us for the next 3 days, I think is absolutely underscored by the way in which we're operating today, or over the next 3 days. So I'm going to spend just a little bit of time talking about what we have collectively achieved in 2020, and that's really about how we have worked together and how we've all benefited from some of the challenges that we've seen. But then I'm going to talk a little bit about what you can look forward to from our partnership in 2021. I think I would best describe the way in which our teams supported you, and in fact the overall response from the channel partners, vendors, the community. It was an unrivaled response to a set of very unprecedented circumstances. From our perspective, in March, we made the decision very quickly to move over 90% of our 2,000 people in the region to work from home. And we managed to achieve that seamlessly within 3 days, continuing to support all of you and our vendors and our business, just all working from home in 3 days. Our logistics centres, we've got just over 120 staff in EMEA who work to keep everything moving. These were our frontline employees, and they did a fabulous job maintaining all of our centres to be open as designated as suppliers of critical services, and through a number of our partners supporting some of the emergency COVID hospitals that were set up across the region. We know that freight and deliveries were significantly impacted, both us receiving goods in and the number of failed deliveries or retried deliveries as offices were closed or not always open. And that meant that our logistics teams managed in that period of time 38% more deliveries, an increase of 38% to keep the channel moving. And throughout the course of the year, we know that the supply chain was significantly disrupted. The number of commercial flights reduced dramatically, meaning that the available cargo slots were reduced. And we recognised that, of course, in a number of occasions, you've got end user contracts in place, and it's not easy for us to expect you or your partner or your end user customers to pay more. Therefore, we've absorbed over 2.3 million of additional freight charges in the last 12 months to make sure that we kept the commitments that we've made to you. And we will need to continue to work with our vendors in this area over the next 12 months to make sure that we keep the supply chain moving. And further, to really support the business and make sure that we buffered against that disruption to the supply chain, we've invested in over $12 million of additional inventory to make sure that we could continue to supply you on a much more just-in-time service. But of course, Brexit is not the only challenge that we faced in the last 12 months. Finally, the UK managed to get Brexit done, and that involved significant reconfiguration of some of our European arrangements and business in order to make sure that we minimise the disruption for our partners in Europe, but also our supply chain down into the Middle East and Africa. And furthermore, of course, we also accommodated the introduction and changes in the Middle East through a number of the VAT programs that were introduced in that region. But in order for us to support the growth opportunity that the channel was realising over 2020, we provided an additional $80 million of credit to our partners, supporting your expansion. And we also recognised that payment was also something that was going to be a challenge on a number of occasions, and therefore we've extended payment terms on over $450 million of business to extend payment terms to a number of you in order for you to continue to be able to manage your business effectively. So all of these actions have led to a 15% increase in the total order volume. That's 25,000 more transactions with you, our partners, last year. And all of that has enabled your growth that is part of our partnership of just through our cyber security business that Danielle represents, a 25% increase year on year. That's just under $250 million of incremental revenue. So despite all of the challenges that we know that we saw last year, we have collectively provided that unrivaled response to the unprecedented circumstances. So what can you expect from us over the next 12 months? So we continue to have ambitious revenue growth objectives with our partners and, of course, with our vendors. We always anticipate to grow ahead of our own vendors' revenue growth. We know that as the business scales, we need to continue to focus on being easy to do business with, and therefore you will expect us to continue to try and improve all of our processes, making it easier for our people to work with you and focus on adding more value rather than continuing to focus on administration. And we also want to drive as much automation with our partners in the field as possible. We see that there is an increased complexity to the sales cycle, that solutions life cycle of not just the initial transaction and the subscription or the consumption, but the renewal of that contract or the re-signing of subscriptions, and making sure that all of those sales models are embedded in how we work with you. And for that, of course, we'll need to continue to evolve our platform capability, making sure that those hybrid solutions are easy to configure and transact with us. We'll continue to drive for financial services capability, including bringing to market in the next months a technology as a service wrap, making sure we can really accommodate those transactions that are balance sheet related, asset management, and the important element of transacting those consumption-based services. You'll expect to see us continue to augment our portfolio and bring to market best-in-class vendors. And in addition, we will be looking to make sure that we can represent all of our world-class vendors in every single one of our operating markets. And of course, you would expect to see us continue to innovate, not just in our marketing programs, but in everything that we do, to ensure that we continue to grow our business with you. So in closing, I would like to extend a number of thank yous. I would clearly like to thank all of our partners for your continued support and your loyalty over the last 12 months. I would like to thank our vendor partners, not just for their sponsorship and their involvement in the event that we are running for the next 3 days, but over the last 12 months, those very well-established and deep relationships with our vendors have served us well. And history and experience tells me that it is those relationships that are formed and forged at times when business is most difficult will be those that accelerate and provide the most rich and rewarding future as things start to improve. And while we anticipate that elements of 2021 will continue to be a challenge, I think we all see that by the end of this calendar year, we will be in a very different place to that we've experienced for the last 12 months. So I hope that you have a fabulous event. The agenda, the schedule, our presenters and speakers are world class, and I think will lead to a very rewarding and thought-provoking event for you over the next few days. So thank you. Have a great event, and I'll hand back to Daniel now to pick up the rest of the schedule. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much, David. When I started this session, I talked to you about security innovation, and I would like to introduce our next keynote speaker, Stuart Wilson from IDC. Stuart is the Research Director, European Partnering Ecosystem within IDC, as I said, and he will be presenting the VAR of the future. Stuart, up to you.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Thank you for those kind words. And hello and welcome to everyone that's joining us today. It's an absolute pleasure to have this opportunity to share some of IDC's latest research with you. Obviously, today is a virtual event, but that has become the norm now. So thanks very much to Westcon for setting up Imagine 2021. As you probably know, IDC is a global market intelligence firm focused on research and advisory to technology buyers and the technology sector. I'm the Research Director for European Partnering Ecosystems, looking very closely at the partner landscape, looking at the transformation of the partner community and the implications for vendors and distributors that this brings about. I spent the last 20 years covering routes to market and channel structures globally. And I think what we can all agree on is that 2020 was unlike any other year to date. No one foresaw what happened, what is happening now, and what will continue to happen because of the impact that COVID-19 had on customers and how it changed the way they actually think about technology. The impact on partnering and the vendor, distributor, partner, customer dynamic has been significant as well. And given the fluidity of the situation, What we did last year was we carried out these regular buyer sentiment surveys to look at how customers had responded to COVID-19 in terms of their technology spend and their purchasing behavior. So what I'm going to do today is take a quick look from the customer perspective at what we saw last year and the outlook for 2021, followed by some insight into how partners responded last year and continue to respond in 2021. Wrapping up with some recommendations on what it means for the partner landscape during the course of the next year. We're going to cover a huge amount during today's presentation, but the deck will be made available afterwards, and happy to follow up with anyone after today's presentation. The good news is the outlook is relatively positive for 2021 from a customer spending perspective. This was our last customer sentiment survey that we did in December. And the good news from this was that the majority of customers, 64%, are expecting their IT spend to be either higher or stay the same in 2021. As I said, this was taken from a survey in December 2020, and this showed a slight improvement on the previous month. But what we've also seen is we've seen this reprioritization occurring in terms of where customers are looking to and willing to spend and invest. And partners really need to understand how their customer base maps onto this changed outlook in terms of where customers want to spend. The good news is that security remains a bright spot in all of this. In the December survey, 72% of end users across EMEA said their spend on security would either remain as planned or increase in 2021. And this was a consistent trend that we saw throughout last year as well, this resilience related to security spend. When we did these buyer sentiments last summer during the lockdown, it showed that close to 70% of companies were still expecting their spend on security to either remain as planned or increase. A third expected it to increase. And this was very consistent across most of the markets in Europe. You can see there in Germany, it was 84% said it will be higher than expected or it will be as expected. And in the Nordics, which was the lowest, it was 50%. Obviously, today's event is an EMEA event, so we wanted to look as well at what we were seeing in the Middle East and Africa. And what we also saw there was that security is topping the list of CIO priorities in the Middle East and Africa. And there are some immediate short-term priorities that they had that they continue to think about as they make their investment plans for 2021. Providing secure access for customers and spending on security architecture and investing in endpoint security solutions remains high priorities for CIOs across the Middle East and Africa. Thinking about what this means for VARs though, and what we saw in terms of the spending environment during 2020 and what it means for 2021. VARs really need to think closely about the impact on customer behavior and purchasing preferences. There's almost an argument to say that partners need to invest in selling and packaging solutions differently. When we go back to the EMEA customer survey, what we've seen is this change in terms of what customers are looking for from their IT spend. This phrase we heard time and time again last year was, we need recession-beating IT. We need something that's going to allow us to navigate through our short-term challenges and thrive in the medium to long term. But what exactly is recession-beating IT? It's all about creating solutions that are highly flexible in terms of the contract terms, the financing, the duration, that have flexible scalability as well. And to create these offerings, partners need to move fast, and they need support from vendors and distributors, because what we were used to before has now fundamentally changed. And one of the key things we saw as well was this increased interest in outcome-based pricing, where there's a shared risk-reward between the partner and the customer. Your customer's success will actually link into what they'll pay you for the solution that you've delivered. And that's something we think all VARs should look at in the context of 2021 and how they evolve their offering to customers. What we looked at last year as well is we looked very closely at the concept of partner resiliency, understanding what actually set a partner up to navigate through COVID-19 and come out of it stronger on the other side. And what we really saw was there were 4 key attributes that a partner had to display to come through and emerge stronger. The first one was around resource agility. Many partners who had typically done implementation and support, they had to switch gears quickly. They had to use their resources more effectively. They had to look at customer success. They had to make sure they were serving the immediate needs of their existing customers. This was a fundamental change for some partners, but many did this transition very, very well. Financial resiliency was a bit more complex as every partner is different. But what we're talking about here from a VAR perspective is the cash reserves, the health of the balance sheet, and how exposed partners were to different verticals, but also how much recurring revenue they had coming into the business. Because for partners that have healthy recurring revenue, the impact is seen as being less severe. They're better able to weather any crisis that may impact their customers. What we also saw and what we continue to see is it became more and more difficult for partners to go out and win new business and win new customers. There is this focus on serving the existing customers. But as we move into 2021, we need to find new ways to go out and find those new customers, whether it be engaging remotely with them, but to actually start to drum up and build that new business as well. But there is a word of warning here as well around recurring revenue, because a recurring revenue stream is only as strong as the business of the end user that you're serving. And as we maybe see a wider economic impact in 2021, it's important to understand which customers will be affected and what that could mean for your existing recurring revenue streams. Business empathy is all about getting the messaging right with the customers, having that deep understanding of the customer's pain points and their challenges. The more you know about your customer, the better you are in terms of positioning a solution that meets their precise needs. And the final one is around portfolio pivotability. That understanding and insight is also necessary to enable partners to adjust their offerings and services quickly and offer flexibility as a customer needs changes. And it's also about having that capability of spinning up new services very quickly, taking on board new vendors that create solutions that are directly aligned to what customers actually need right now. When we did our partner survey, we actually saw that many partners were actually going down this path. They were actually making progress in terms of their own resource agility. They were moving to remote sales, delivery, and working, and they were increasing their digital marketing. In terms of the financial resiliency, more than half of the partners that we surveyed were rebalancing their activity, their vertical, and their client focus to actually create a more resilient business. And obviously, business empathy was something that more and more were looking at closely to make sure they were actually understanding the needs of their customers. Also, in terms of portfolio pivotability, we saw this increase in partners focusing on cloud, as these were the solutions that customers were actually demanding. Many of these tactics are actually interlinked, and together they form this basis of ongoing partner transformation that is key to being a successful future VAR. There's a change in mindset here. It's all about looking at the customer and turning a problem into an opportunity through the positioning of the solution. And that helps the customers accelerate and transform their business through the recovery curve that they are going through. When we looked at our survey and compared it to a survey we did 2 years ago, we were quite surprised by how resilient European partners were. What we saw is that on average, 76% of revenue from VARs was coming from existing clients in 2020. 3 years ago, that figure was only 42%. And in 2020, 73% of the revenue was recurring. And again, 3 years ago, this figure was 36%. So you need to consider the strength of those streams, the recurring revenue streams. Are any customers at risk? One area of concern that we flagged up in our survey was the exposure to the SMB space that many VARs had. This is still a risk in certain verticals. During 2020, the end of furlough, the end of some of the government schemes that have basically been putting a sticking plaster over some of the problems that businesses have, this could have a significant impact. So it's really important to understand which SMB customers will be affected, how they will be affected, and plan accordingly. And on the left here, we have some quotes from some partners that we talked to in our partner advisory boards. You can see there, as we come out of lockdown, many SMBs will not retain all their staff. That will have an impact on some of those long-term contracts with those SMBs if they're downsizing and their needs change. What we've also seen, and this continues to be a huge trend for 2021, is this ability to know and understand your customers. Again, looking at the European Partner Survey, partners across Europe are now focusing heavily on customer success within their organization. And this is about building deeper, more committed customer relationships as we evolve towards this era of everything as a service and ongoing subscription models. Because customer success is also vital in terms of customer retention. It's not just selling to the customer now, it's also about ensuring that you have those very high renewal and retention rates as well. What's important here to also look at is that more than half of VARs are now using data and analytics to predict customer churn. This focus on customer success is now a necessity, it's not a luxury for partners. Partners are also responding by investing in specific areas. The investment in the required skills is accelerating around areas such as cloud and security. Some partners are ahead of the curve in terms of this investment. Others are playing catch up. And for many established partners, there's almost a tipping point that's been reached where the investment can no longer be put off in these areas. Many have done that in the past. They've waited until the point where the investment became a necessity. But, we would contend that that point is now, because what we saw last year was this huge customer focus on digital transformation that was accelerated by the impact of COVID that has created this need for partners to evolve faster and quicker than ever. For a long time now, we've been talking about this concept of partner transformation and the partner of the future. This started off with the partner of the future 1.0. Many partners have already begun their transformation journey, and partners are more resilient than we think. Many have made significant steps in this journey, but now is not the time to stand still. The pressure to accelerate that transformation is growing, and also to make the right investments in the right areas as we move towards the partner of the future 2.0 framework. Because these are the attributes that will set you up for success in the future. As partners have said to us, we need to come out of COVID-19 a better and a stronger business than we went in as. Because if we look beyond where we are now and what the partner of the future framework looks like, it's all about helping companies, helping customers accelerate their digital transformation. And the customer's needs from VARs are going to change as well. Over the next decade, it's not going to be enough to have skills in next generation technologies. Customers will want to work with partners that can help them build new digital services and products. It becomes about this co-creation process, where the customer is almost a partner, where you're helping them leverage technology to build new digital capabilities. As we go through that, more and more the relationship shifts from selling to actually helping service customers, to actually co-creating with them, helping them develop IP as well. And this is often as part of a broader ecosystem solution. And as this is a business priority for customers, increasingly VARs will be dealing with the C-suite, if not the CEO. They will be playing a vital part in that decision-making process. We also think the borders between different partner types will continue to blur. There'll be no more talk of, okay, they're a reseller, they're a VAR, they're a systems integrator, they're a service provider, because more and more partners will need to be flexible and have the ability to adapt and provide the solutions and services that the customer wants in the way that they want as well. Because as customers modernize and digitally transform, the projects will also become smaller. They'll become more tactical and focused on specific use cases. All of these areas that we're highlighting here in terms of the Partner of the Future 2.0 framework are important to look at in the context of your current business to see where you sort of score against this transformation process. What we have seen is that partners are trying to accelerate their transformation. 46% of partners say COVID-19 has accelerated their own internal transformation efforts to keep up with customer requirements. But the process of partner transformation is a significant undertaking, and distributors can play a key role. Distributors such as Westcon can play a key role in actually helping VARs accelerate this process. Because that traditional channel linking vendor, distributor, VAR, customer still exists, but it's becoming more of an ecosystem play that goes way beyond transactional relationships towards true partnerships. With the pace of technology change in areas such as security and networking, the role of distributors is absolutely vital. Distributors play a key role in helping VARs transform and evolve quickly. There are so many ways that they provide support, and VARs that are looking to transform quickly need to take full advantage of these resources that are available to them. Distributors are also playing a key role in helping vendors scale their reach. In vendors, distributors, and VARs working together in unison is vital for successful and accelerated sales and marketing. One of the key trends that we identified in 2020, driven by COVID, driven by cloud, was that the role of distributors became more important, and we see that trend continuing in 2021. One of the questions that we've been asked a lot by partners, distributors, and vendors is, how do we transition effectively to digital selling? As everything went remote, that was a sudden, sharp change. Most partners had built their business on deep relationships with customers, face-to-face selling, sitting on the corner of the desk, but suddenly the go-to-market motion changed. It's a big switch. And one of the questions we explored in the COVID-19 Impact End User Buyer Survey was, what do customers value most when evaluating technology in a virtual way? And what we saw was, they did value the online content. They want to be able to do their research online. And if that content is good, it's a real differentiator. They want virtual demos. They want virtual events. They want virtual sales calls. So thinking about how you can actually provide that, whether you're currently providing that, is going to be key to success in 2021 as well. We also asked the same question from a delivery standpoint, and I think this gives you some good pointers in terms of what you should be developing now, in terms of how customers want partners to implement. They want proactive and predictive support as opposed to something that's more reactive. They also want help in creating virtual versions of project workshops to scope out the delivery, and of course they want virtual support, and they want to be able to offer a more remote delivery service. Managed services is absolutely key to this vision. And in terms of what they're looking for from partners, the attributes that customers value from partners is important too. This result comes from a customer survey in January 2020, so pre-COVID, but it's even more relevant right now when we think about these top 4 attributes. They want VARs, they want partners with a credible track record with the vendors they represent. They want partners with deep industry expertise, and they want partners who can provide that flexibility in terms of financing and also cloud expertise. There are huge opportunities around new customers in 2021. 69% of customers are evaluating new partners, new suppliers in response to COVID-19. In many ways, it's sort of shaken up customers. They're now much more likely to consider a new supplier that can offer something innovative and different to them. So it's really important to think about whether you have the ability to reach out virtually and make contact with those new customers as well. What we've also seen is that close to half of the partners in the survey are investing in next generation technologies. These are the solution portfolios that really resonate with customers, and they're increasing their investment in building up the skills in the portfolio to take these propositions to market. Cybersecurity is absolutely key. 74% of partners are already offering cybersecurity solutions and services, and a further 13% are looking to add this to their portfolio in the next 12 months. But interestingly, only 1 in 4 are investing in specialization, but a further 40% are planning to invest in specialization, be that by vertical, by industry, in the next 12 months. And we think this will be very important in terms of future success for VARs. And again, distributors have a role to play in educating partners on this process. So when we start to wrap it all together in terms of what we're seeing in terms of the partner trends for 2021, what we see for the future is that cloud and security are the most relevant areas for partners to invest in. And as they do this, understanding how the services layer wraps around these key technologies and creates opportunities is absolutely key. And vendors that align their partner vision, their distributor vision with this direction can capitalize on this. There is a segment of the partner community that is going to emerge much stronger in 2021. When we look back on 2020, what we tend to do is we look at what we call the 5 C's: customers, COVID, cloud, consumption, and convergence. And these mega trends have collided at speed in 2020 as the need for digital transformation in customers went into overdrive as a result of COVID. And we're only just now starting to see the impact and the fallout from this. It will become clearer in 2021, but it's already having a profound impact on partnering. Acceleration of the cycle of partner transformation is key to this. It's moving faster. Vendors are moving moving faster, distributors are moving faster, VARs need to move faster as well to make sure that you don't just survive in 2021, but you also thrive. And that's why events such as Imagine are so important right now in terms of giving you the ability to look at various solutions from vendors and understand how you can work more closely with distributors to capitalize on opportunities. So in terms of some final advice, for 2021, really equip for remote everything, enable remote working, remote customer engagement. That's the way to keep the business moving. Continue to invest in customer experience. It's so important to know your customer. And thirdly, always think about the value of the impact of the solutions that you're offering to customers. That ability to offer a very clear value proposition is going to be absolutely key. And leverage the full value of distribution. We spoke earlier about all the ways distributors can help accelerate VAR transformation. Take full advantage of what is available and keep looking above and beyond where we are today and really prioritize vendors based on potential. Look closely at your portfolio, look at the gaps and understand where you can continue to evolve and innovate your offering. So with that, I'd like to thank you all very much for your time. I know we've covered a huge amount in a short space of time. So if you do require any more details on any of the topics, don't hesitate to reach out or ask questions. And I'm sure a copy of this deck will be made available to you after today's session. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Stuart. Very, very good speech about the innovation. It seems also that all over EMEA, the investment in IT will keep on growing up to 90%, and especially in security. But I think that we need to keep that very quiet because my budget is not over yet, and it's not final. It has not been decided by David and my boss, Rene. So we need to keep that quiet. So, but you mentioned also 5 C's, and one of the C was well, the COVID, unfortunately. I hope that for 2021, mid or the end, it would be 4 C's, okay, with the cloud and all the other C's. Forget about the fifth one. You mentioned also the key of success would be to innovate. And I'm very happy to hear that because, as you know, the theme of our virtual event is innovate to differentiate. So I'm very happy and honored to have a great panel to share and discuss how innovation could be a real differentiator for the VARs. So I would like to introduce our panelists, but I will leave that to you, Ross, to start. Would you like to start introducing yourself, Ross, please? Ross, would you like to start introduce yourself, or somebody else? Peter, maybe.
Yeah, sure thing. Thank you. It seems there's a technical glitch with Ross, so he's coming up. My name is Peter Sandkel. I work for Checkpoint. I've been in Checkpoint for about 20 years. I'm heading up the SE community for EMEA. So lots of things really resounded very nicely, and I'm looking forward to have it in a panel discussion.
Thank you, Peter. Andrew?
Yes, good morning, Daniel, and hello to everyone. My name is Andrew Lintel. I am the Vice President Managing Director for EMEA within the Fireman organization. So looking forward to being part of this conversation and panel, and particularly around innovation. This is an exciting topic for us.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Eric? Hi, Eric.
Hey, good morning, Danielle. Wonderful to see and be with all of you. I'm the Senior Director of a hot IoT startup SaaS company. So a lot of these elements that were just discussed are something I have a real passion for, and pleased to be with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eric. Long time no talk. I'm happy to see you here. Kirill.
Good morning, Daniel, and good morning, everyone. I'm Kirill from NetScout, working as principal engineer in the city office of the company. So directly responsible and involved into innovation, which is the topic for today. And previously, I've spent 6 years in the channel partners, so all what we're discussing right now is very, very close to me, I must admit, from my personal experience. So back to you, Daniel.
Thank you, Kirill. And I don't know if Ross is back. Are you back, Ross? It seems he's not. Okay, so we will have a great selection of. It was supposed to be 5 panelists, but we'll make it work with 4 of you guys. So I'm very happy. And a part of this that we're going to do is to submit one question. The question that you have on the screen would be, what is the biggest decision influencer for your customers when they are selecting a VAR to work with? So you will have a vote, so you can vote. There is a word cloud that will pop up and will build up real time. So based on your answers, we will comment. So you will have 1 or 2 minutes to vote. So you can start now. So the audience could, the attendees could vote, of course. So I'm very interested to see what is the biggest decision influencer for your customers. So if the attendees could vote, that would be yes. All right. So it's coming.
Price.
Yeah, that a big surprise. A big surprise. Price. Expertise. And maybe that will go back to what Stuart just said. He mentioned a couple of times that the advice also and the services, the flexibility, the agility, okay, was something that the customer were about to select when it comes to make the choice on the VAR. Okay, so we had price at the first place, but it seems that the expertise lead the crowd now with some cost. Okay, so it seems that the final result, it's about expertise, which is really good because as we want to be the trusted advisor as Westcon, but also together with our vendor partners and especially with this one in this panel list. What do you think about the expertise that will pop up, Eric?
I think it's interesting, Danielle, because when I look at expertise, I think what I've seen with the VAR community is expertise on a total solution versus just a product selection. So in my mind, it's almost integration expertise or workflow expertise. And I think that's really crucial to this innovation of how the VAR is moving forward. I think expertise is a great word, but I think it goes deeper than just what used to be product expertise.
Yeah, you're right, and I think it goes beyond the product expertise. It's also about the market. It's also about what the competition is doing in the same vertical market segment. Russ, welcome to the panel. Could you introduce yourself quickly, and then we'll go to this word cloud again.
Certainly. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, team. Sorry for the delay in getting in. My name's Ross Brewer. I'm the General Manager and Vice President for Attack IQ's business in Europe, Middle East and Africa and Asia Pacific, and just want to thank the Westcon team.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ross. So what do you think about the expertise? So there is, I think the first is expertise. Second line would be trust. So you can comment on one or the 2 points.
Yeah, so in expertise, what we're seeing is organizations really struggle to operationalize their technologies. And so all partners, next-gen partners really need to focus on the practice, helping organizations develop the internal skills, the DNA, the soft skills, in order to be able to, get the most out of their technology.
Okay, and is that a surprise for you, Andrew?
I'm reassured by it, if I can put it that way. I think this to me shows that we are listening to the market, because let's face it, customers are undergoing huge amounts of change. It's forced on them. talking to a CISO just the other day, and he was basically telling me that, you know, he's done 6 years worth of transformation in 6 months. And, you know, it's an unbelievable scale of change. And frankly, customers need help. The channel are perfectly placed to be able to help make sense of all of the different options available to them. Now, to me, this is all about how do you de-risk change, and expertise and access to expertise, partners that are able to help deliver insight, and insight's always worth more to the customer than product knowledge by itself, is a critical area of value and how to differentiate. So I'm heartened to see that this is the response rather than it just being all about the price. I think there's a lot more to it now.
Yeah, I was a little bit worried when price come up. Yeah, all right. So we need to go through the cost and the price, even if the cost is still there. But what do you think, Peter?
Well, obviously, for everybody to be viable, they need to make money. So both Westcon as well as the VARs, they're in the business to make some money, right? We're not philanthropists. But in order to do that properly, what we see a lot is if the sales play is proper and the sales play has been built on what the customer value is that you're offering, the expertise comes with that, because what you're showing to the customers, I understand what your needs are. I know your pain points. Even if you don't know them yourself, I know what they are, and I'm going to address them with you. And one of the surprising things, I mean, I was ecstatic to hear about the convergence and people going to the cloud. My reality is it's a tip of the iceberg at the moment, and many people are rushing in, and they're doing it with different partners than the classic network partners. They have not been schooled. And today we're talking about IoT, but everything is going to be connected because IoT is in the cloud as well. They've not been schooled in introducing security into the business process of running. So when customers today are making that convergence, what I quite often see as a security vendor, obviously, is first it needs to work, and then we'll look at how to secure it. And that's not the world anymore. Part of the big change is everything got automated and everything needs to work together. So partnerships, if anything, is one of the most important things for an integrator to be successful.
Okay, thank you, Peter. When it comes to the different expectations, did you see any change in expectations of the end users during 2020, Ross? Do you think that there is a lot of differences between the request or the expectation from the end user in 2018, 2019, and the 2020?
I think that there's a change in focus. And if we go back to the turn of the millennium where we'd spent a lot of money on IT, and then everyone sort of looked at it and went, well, the market collapsed. Well, how are we going to sort of actually get those return on those investments? And then we went into sort of 20 years of transformational projects. I think everybody sitting on this call has the biggest opportunity they've ever had in their careers, because that transformational opportunity is now shifting over to cybersecurity. That we're actually looking at organizations looking to really sort of up their programs, up their readiness, up their, improve their posture, and they're willing to invest. But most importantly, for everybody on this call, they're willing to invest with those organizations that meet the criteria in the speech box there. They want that trusted advisor, they want that expertise, they want someone that understands risk, and they want someone that can take them on that journey of a continuous program of improvement. And that's really the big opportunity that's in front of us all.
And I know that Eric with Order, that you just joined Order a few quarters ago, if I'm not mistaken. Did you see this the expectation from the end user also when you take back your length years with your former company and Order? How does it fit?
Yeah, Danielle, it's interesting. Being involved on the SaaS side of the equation, running umbrella channels and now Order channels, there is a couple things that I think are very interesting. One is the concept of fast time to value. So as Ross mentioned, what are this transformation process? So it's not necessarily an ROI conversation anymore, because at the rate of which everything's happening, the time to value of a tool, and then as Peter mentioned, the integration and the automation of a workflow together. So these idea of separate castles within security, frankly, do not scale. They're not acceptable. So how are we going to not only have a tool provide fast time to value for the customer, but then also quickly integrate and provide real in-depth of understanding of the entire environment. And I absolutely think that that's crucial for partners working. And I think, frankly, Westcon can help with that, building that glue to really now drive a faster time to value of an integrated solution. It's very exciting.
And will you put the expertise also on the number one when it comes to the, let's say, the differentiators that the thing that's very important for the end user, that will be the expertise, or it's something around the trusted advisor, technology, innovation? What do you think?
So from my standpoint, I think that in a SaaS world, and I'm looking through a SaaS lens, and we have a lot of, it's interesting when Stuart shared that 73% of the revenue now from partners is coming from reoccurring revenue. There is an incredible amount of behavioral data and behavioral analysis in CX motions. Are the vendors, I think the partners should absolutely be looking at technologies that are sharing and driving CX expertise. And so in my mind, this knowledge sharing, frankly, is up there with expertise and trust. The concept that a SaaS can be a black box for partners is a limiting thought process. I think SaaS organizations should be very open in how behavioral data and analytics is being shared, because ultimately it's the partners that are building the correct solutions across the board. They ultimately will drive a larger retention and reduce the churn. So I'm seeing through that lens, Danielle, and so I would have loved to have seen, kind of SaaS knowledge transfer as part of that process as everything gets driven in this motion.
Okay, so if I understand well, it's more about services that the VAR could provide, linked to the expertise that they could bring, that will prevail, okay, from maybe a cost or price that. Andrew, are you sharing the same thought?
So what I was trying to articulate was, if we look at vendors that are offering SaaS technologies, are they sharing with the partner community the behavior, the end user behavioral data and analytics to help the VAR actually build a stronger solution? They're the ones talking to the customer on a regular basis. They need the insights. And if you look at it from a competitive advantage perspective, as VARs are going through vendor selection or technology selection, it's not just this idea of the technology, what does it do with the customer? It's also, what are the insights that the vendor is providing me as the partner? Mm-hmm. And imagine two tools doing the same thing. One was a black box regarding insights, behavioral data, behavioral analysis, usage patterns, not being able to see that. And then the other vendor providing that to the partner. That is really then allowing the partner to construct a deeper process and have a stronger linkage between and build their own CX motion. And I challenge VARs out there, when you're looking at SaaS technologies, how much data are you receiving? How much are you then being in turn helping through the virtual workshops and some of those things, Danielle? And I think it's, frankly, we see vendors all over the board in how they are or are not sharing behavioral data and analytics of the customers.
Thank you for that, Eric. You wanted to add something, Andrew?
Well, I completely agree. I think it is incumbent upon vendors now to be able to help enable. It should be viewed as an enablement of the partner in order to better position and help them provide insight. I mean, that is what customers want. That's how we differentiate, and that ultimately is the most valued thing that they can offer. And just to come back a couple more points there that Eric made earlier about the nature now of solutions being so much more interoperable than before. The dependency upon automation in order to be a better help increase speed, reduce risk, all of the things that we're trying to achieve in this very changeable world, then it's interesting to me how the nature of workflow, how it can change the relationship between the customer and the VAR, because for a long time, when you're, dare I say it, selling point solutions or boxes or whatever it might have been, your relationship with that customer sometimes can be quite myopic. It's relatively sort of single skin. Whereas now, if you look at workflow, workflow touches everything, and you've got to step back and really, I think, analyze your customer base and understand, like, where is our strength within this customer in terms of a relationship and what we know is going on there, and where is our weakness? Where do we need to build bigger bridges and a closer relationship with, and understand the needs of not just security, but networking, operations, dev, applications, cloud? I mean, there's a multi-audience kind of approach that now needs to be adopted in order to be able to add value by bringing it together and helping to play back to that customer the various different opportunities that they have. And at the moment, things are very much in the air for customers. It's a muddle. But as we all know, where there's a muddle, there's a margin, So there is an opportunity here to be able to really offer a concise view back to the customer. And from there, your opportunity radar will, I think, significantly increase.
Thank you, Andrew. Peter, in Checkpoint, you have a kind of end-to-end solution, and we were talking about this complexity and how it could be difficult to get the right technology for the right expectation of the end user and so on. So I know that you're working very close with Order to cover the full spectrum. So what do you think when they talk about expertise again? Okay, that was the VARs, the resellers, let's say prime interest. Okay, and the expectation from the end user. What is your thought about that?
Well, what we try to find out is where is our strength, and we want to stay very close to where our strength is, and where can we branch out based on customer needs. So customers told us when they're running in an IoT environment that they don't really know what they have installed or what they have running. And initially we tried to go out and said, you know what, here's threat prevention security in case somebody tries to attack your equipment. Customers turn around and said, we don't even know what we have. So working with companies like Order, they give us an ability to really get into the heads of the customer and say, okay, let us help you find out what you have. And then let us add on top what we can do for you. And while doing that, automatically create a suggested policy for that. Because the one thing that is really, really different, and I agree with Ross, it's the biggest opportunity in a lifetime potentially. But the one big thing that's different for the VARs that are listening is you used to be the absolute expert in building networks because you've been doing it for 25 years. This new world truly is new. There are no best practices because we're practicing. We're trying to figure out which ones are best. So all of us are looking to find out what's best for us. In doing that, the powerhouse in organizations are shifting. If you look at Microsoft 5 years ago, the powerhouse was Windows. Today it's Azure. They fully turned around a multi-billion-dollar organization because they said this is where the market is going. This is what our customers are doing as well. And if we stick to change management like we did it, we very quickly become Mr. No, and we have no place because we will just be passed by on the freeway. So in order to build new solution sets that customers are happy with, the one dramatic change that I also see is the partners that currently do not have that knowledge. They start creating corporations. They use the SaaS company to leverage the backend engine. And on top of that, they add the knowledge that they have, particularly to their market, to their customers, to their industry, and then build the final solution. Because in the end, all of ours are going to be looking for a repeatable solution. They don't want to reinvent the wheel over and over and over again. So the choices they have is build it yourself, but many of them are distracted with doing day-to-day business, as not everybody has converged yet, and the majority of business is coming from traditional sales. But at the same time, they realize if we don't do this, we're going to be extinct pretty soon. So it's a big field of tension that says, I need to do this, but I don't have the time. Who's going to help me out? This is where I feel if you have partnerships and you have an open architecture that allows you to run everything through an API, which means you can fully automate, you can eradicate the amount of time that is involved in doing it the classical way, we can actually provide value both to the partner as well as the customer, because in the end, the ROI is going to be better.
Yeah. So thank you for that. And talking about expertise and maybe vendor agnostic when it comes to knowing better the infrastructure, as you mentioned, Peter, what do we have at the end and so on. But Ross, could you address that? Because with your technology, which is kind of vendor agnostic, if I'm not mistaken, okay, when you put your services on and you discover, could you elaborate that? And with the same theme of expertise, okay, that the resellers pointed out earlier?
Certainly. So yes, we work with the MITRE Ingenuity Centre for Threat Informed Defence. We're one of the founding members of the CTID, which is where the MITRE attack framework now sits. So we work with a technology sharing arrangement with many of the mainstream vendors, where they can use our technology to test their capability against the MITRE framework for the evaluations and before it goes into the customer environment. So that covers the sort of heterogeneous sort of side of it. And our mission as an organization is to make the world a safer place to compute. Now, we're a small company, and how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to do that through bringing the security industry together through partnerships, which we're doing with, as I said, some of the mainstream vendors. But more importantly, on the expertise side, the customers are clamoring for expertise at the moment. They're clamoring for knowledge. And the data point on that, and again, I don't want to do a big thing about Attack IQ. We've got sessions later on, but there is an important data point for everybody on this call. We started an academy about mid last year in the middle of a pandemic. We put it out there and we said, look, we're going to provide free training on the kind of subject matters that are interested, our customers and partners are interested in. And it was a free facility, expert world-class trainers. And within 6 months, we're approaching 12,000 cybersecurity professionals from 160 plus countries. So this thing's gone viral. So that really answers the expertise that organizations are looking for, that expertise. Now that was more sort of technical practitioners. Now we're going to work with a university that's providing a chief information security officer and a chief CIO, chief information officer course, and then we're going to bring that back into the academy. So we're seeing organizations, and I think Peter and others have made this point, that we rapidly clamor to cloud. All the cloud transformation projects got accelerated. Everyone raced to home, remote working, which has expanded the attack surface. But more importantly, those projects were done rapidly and often not with the skill set necessary. And so that's opened up a world of vulnerability and a world of pain within the global customer base, especially around the cloud. Because when you get the configuration wrong in the cloud, your data's exposed to the internet. If you get it wrong in your data center, maybe no one will find it and you're okay. But as I said, when it's exposed to the internet, so we're seeing mass problems in that area. And I think, again, we need partners to take the initiative and take responsibility. You want to be a trusted advisor. You want to be someone that organization's going to entrust their business to. You've got to invest and skill up. And one of the last thing I want to make, there are, and what partners may want to think about looking for, is blue ocean opportunities. Red ocean it's a feeding frenzy. There's a bit of meat in the water. Everyone's fighting over that piece of meat, the commodity, antivirus renewal, things like that. You can't carve a margin out. You can't do differentiation. Look for those broader next generation opportunities that Westcon's bringing you, where you can get out in the blue sea and get away from all that feeding frenzy and improve your services, improve your margin, and improve business acquisition, new business acquisition, as well as cross-sell and upsell.
I like that. Thank you so much, Ross. I like it very much. Kirill, when it comes to NetScout and the expertise, what is your input on this one?
So yeah, this is an interesting question, Daniel. And specifically talking about expertise, I'd like also to combine this with trust, because as we have seen on the slide, so expertise comes with trust. Those were two words that raised most of interest from the partner landscape. I think it's not a coincidence, because from the end customer perspective, end customers see VARs as vendor agnostic consultants who can provide specific insight about who is best where, what are pros and cons. And sometimes customers appreciate this direct approach, because from vendor point of view, they would expect some bias maybe they would expand the vendor a bit, pushing their own solution, while a VAR can be very, very honest in terms of what is best. So this is where I see expertise working together with trust. And talking specifically about NetScout, what Stuart has mentioned during his presentation, that as things went totally 100% online, virtual demos, virtual classes, virtual sales calls, this is just new normal. This is not something which we should be working on. We should just have it right now. And of course, from NetScout, maybe we have invested a lot into things that would allow our channel partners, same as our customers, to access our demos, to access our experts, and to be able to close all the questions remotely.
Thank you so much for that, Kirill, and really it was really interesting. Anything else to add to these word cloud? So we talked about the expertise, the trust. We saw also a little bit about the cost and the price. I would like to go back to the price and cost, because it was the first, okay, and it's really very important for the end user. They all have a budget, so they need to decide upon the budget that they have, how they are going to spend. Even if Stuart showed us that the investment will keep on growing, and especially in security, which we're all happy about, okay, but do you think that there is a correlation between the expertise and the price? So what could be your advice to the resellers in the audience? I start with you, Peter.
Thanks. It's interesting, because I have the same discussion with my salespeople in my own organization, and we're a vendor. How do I prevent getting into a conversation that's solely about price? Because the second we start discussing ports and speeds and feeds, this is when you stop talking about value. So the best recommendation I give to them is find out where your unique selling points are. I know for my organization what they are. But obviously, any VAR out there, it does something special that is different than what anybody else is doing. And sure, there's going to be competition, but part of that is going to be taken away by trust. And part of that is simply going to be taken away because you managed to do something. You managed to push a button that nobody else has pushed. And it makes a lot of sense that you push that button. And usually, it is plain salesmanship. Take an interest, investigate what the interests of the customer are, make sure that your solution set addresses the needs of that specific customer, and that comes at a price, true, but the price equals a value, and the value is the continuation of your business. It's not a product you're selling. If you're doing anything on the internet today and you didn't think about securing the whole process end to end, it's a very limited time exercise. So we're talking about business, really, and the cost that you invest in order to run your business. That's how I usually go in. And then obviously there's specifics in every single setup and deal and conversation that you have. It's really about value.
How would you position that now, Andrew?
I think for me, it's about ensuring that you've got the, to Peter's point, a real understanding of what the customer's trying to achieve. They might not know how to get there, but that's part of why the channel is there to help navigate the map. You've got to be relevant. Look for relevance. You've got to be able to really understand, dial back, play back, challenge. I think customers don't have all the answers. Otherwise, they wouldn't really be in this situation. So they are asking for vendor expertise, and vendors are very useful, I hope, to the channel and to the end users to be able to help share their view or their part of the world. I think part of the channel value is to be able to look at a series of these that are in a relevant space and be able to stitch them together, to be able to help kind of provide a wider view that gives more context to the customer in terms of what is valuable and what is not. There's so many areas of risk that can be mitigated if you can understand the wider view. We talked about interoperability. If we look at security policy like Biomon does, then you are touching lots of different areas as you look to understand not just the infrastructure. It can be political, it can be things that are rushing to cloud. I mean, the big shift to cloud that's happened in the last few months, now everyone's rushing to try and operationalize, if you like, what was a bit of a temporary move, as everyone's business continuity plans were then rushed out. Now it's like, well, now we've got to make it permanent. So you've got to be able to have the view within the channel to be able to help the customer understand where they're at in the journey, what steps along the journey can help. So I think you've got to be curious. I think you've got to ask a lot of questions. The customer is there to really kind of be guided along a journey, and the most valuable relationships, the trust, the expertise, the top things that we've talked about already, frankly, are the foundations for any channel relationship with an end user. Because ultimately, if you have those two things, then I think the service, the price, the differentiation, it all kind of comes together when you approach it in a consultative approach. That is such a key difference. It's not a series of product links that need to be hooked together and a price lobbed on it and over it gets thrown. I think it's much more of a conversation now than ever has been so far.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And do you think that if we could wrap up the technology, the services, and expertise with a kind of financial engineering solution that will help the customer to move towards this next generation solution that you mentioned, Ross? Do you think that will help the customer to make the step?
Most definitely, and I think customers, and this has been recognised by the analysts, customers are now recognising, and I think Andrew used the word operationalisation. In 82% of the breaches, according to Verizon, the security technology was there, but it failed. So there's a massive operationalization problem in our industry, and customers need expertise, they need service, but most importantly, we have to be delivering a business outcome and delivering value. So if partners can work with their vendors, and I would really encourage the partners there is a typical sort of way a partner would like to engage with the market, and it's sensible. They want to get skilled, they want to get trained, and they want to be somewhat self-sufficient, somewhat of a expert in that technology before they take it to a customer. You haven't got that kind of time anymore. We've moved from a B2C to B2B to an H to H. It's a human-to-human business, and somebody's going to get there very quickly to introduce sort of new technologies. So work with the vendors, work which ones you can trust with, because as vendors, we're meeting with customers on 4 to 5 Zooms a day, and meeting with CISOs, meeting with CIOs, meeting with CFOs, talking about these transformational subjects, and we're gathering a lot of insight that's valuable to your customers. So please work out which partners or which vendors you can trust, and then partner with them and get them into those accounts, and then you can start to look at complementary services. And there's a lot of services opportunity, both in terms of advisory services, consulting services, managed security services, that can be wrapped around this new transformational sort of business outcome focused need for operationalization of existing and future technologies.
Yeah, there is a point that was not mentioned into the word cloud, was about the time to market. We faced that in 2020 a lot. Okay, we have some emergency. We needed to react very quick, very short period of time, and so. Do you think that will change in 21, or we will still be the firefighter because we need to find a solution? Our resellers need to find the right technologies, and maybe less on-prem, more than on SaaS and cloud-based. What do you think, Kirill?
Yeah, so I think time to market definitely is going to change, and in fact, it has been changing since last year. And despite the fact it was not mentioned in the word cloud, I think what we are discussing right now, Eric has mentioned SaaS, and Peter has mentioned how VARs can become SaaS providers. I think that's exactly the point. From vendor point of view, channel VARs are new customers, in a sense that we would be providing our solutions to channel customers, to channel partners, to VARs, so that they could roll out services to end customers. And that gives this time to market, because if we enable a reseller to build a security platform that they can resell, that they can use to roll out new services, that helps with workflows, that takes time from security operations from the end customer, and about operationalization. You don't need to deal with hardware, you don't need to update software. You can spend more time on workflows, you can spend more time on making the security actually work. and that I think helps tremendously for all of us as we go going forward.
Okay, thank you for that, Kirill. I think that we are close to the end of this conversation. Very interesting. Any final comment that one of you would like to make?
I just think in terms of picking up on what Eric and Kirill have said around the SaaS market, the whole world's going to, obviously in security, we're still seeing customers demanding on-prem, especially, in Germany or, in the Middle East and certain countries and things like that. So there's going to be that resistance, but the reality is the whole world is going to end up in the cloud. Now that represents a huge opportunity for partners, but a big risk as well. If they don't get skilled up, if they don't become expert partners for the vendors, well, the vendors can just get a credit card and take the money. Not that Attack IQ, everything we do is 2-tier through Westcon, but the point I'm making is that there is an opportunity for vendors to go, we'll just take the money and work with customers. So it's really important that the partners are adding that value, offering those complementary services so that they can continue to have their margin and reap the future rewards from those investments. Because as I said, there's multiple divergent or convergences of massive change that's about to happen, and it's all coming to a sort of a crescendo, and partners are in a unique opportunity to maximize that because the vendors don't have the resources to take the opportunity. So, we need the partners, and we want partners that are strategic, that are investing. So thank you, Daniel. Thank you, everyone.
Maybe in addition, very short, customer success management is definitely a topic that our partners should investigate. Because if you're going into a SaaS market and you're shifting the model of selling and 3 years later selling into having a renewal every single year, you want to make sure that you're still valid. So as the SaaS services get updated with all kinds of new features and functionality, you need to be on top of that. You need to make sure that the customer really is benefiting from those new features and functionalities so they continue to be happy with you. So if you're not doing it right now, that would be a recommendation I would certainly send. Make sure that your customers are happy customers.
Yeah, thank you for your last comment, Peter. And it's very, very important, the customer experience, customer satisfaction. Within Westcon, we have what we call the circuit, where we change each steps of the, let's say, life cycle, to make sure that we could support our reseller partners to be very close to what could be the expectation. And if the end user buys some services, they are using it first, and second, they are happy with the services that they acquire. So thank you to make a comment on this one, Peter. So guys, it's the end of the session. What a wonderful panelist and great and very interesting conversation that we had. I would like to thank you, all of you and each of you. Thank you so much. And I hope talking to you soon. Thank you and have a nice event.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Now, customers, we are going to make a break. And if you find this session this morning interesting, please use your 15-minute break to visit our virtual booth to explore the technology and the services, have a chat with the experts, of course. And they are waiting for you in the booth from via live video or check the text chat. Or you can also request a call back. Remember that we have a treasure hunt shields hidden in the booth. So if you want to collect them, you have better chances, as I mentioned this morning, in the intro, to win an iPhone 12 or a Galaxy S21. So, if you want also to test your speed and memory in our mini game during the break and win some prizes sponsored by Ross that you have just seen in the panel list from Attack IQ. After the break, around 12:35 CET. The agenda will continue with the breakout rooms. So join our vendor partners to hear about what they have to offer on the next gen SOC market in the breakout room number 1. And if you want to know more about the IoT OT security market, go into the break room too. So I would like to thank you so much, and enjoy your break. Thank you.
So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, depending on where you are. My name is Martin Flensburg, and before you start wondering where this strange accent is coming from, I am from Sweden. So hopefully you can understand me for the next 25 to 30 minutes. I'm going to spend my time talking about Westcon services and what that can do to help and support you and your business, why we are investing in this area, and why I believe that you will care about what I'm going to talk about. So let's get this started. So in any successful project lifecycle, it's not just about selling or just about winning the deal or keeping the customer happy. It's a lot of things that needs to happen. And our experience and my experience over the last couple of decades is that when we are delivering our solutions to our partners, most of our partners has a very good setup themselves to provide most of the supporting functions. But there will always be areas where there is understaffed, or there are missing knowledge, or there is a gap. And for that reason, we are trying to build, and we have built, a fairly large number of services to support our customer and to make our customers together with us more successful. It's important to be aware that we are not doing all of our services and deliver our services to compete with our partners, because we are a distributor, number one, number two, and number three. We are always a distributor. Anything we do, anything we develop is all about making our partner community more successful. And I understand that many of the services that we're going to talk about today might not be relevant in every situation, every day, for every customer. But I believe that for most of you, there will be situations where our services capability will play an important part in your ability to reach new opportunities, specifically when it comes to new technologies and new vendors. And hopefully the next couple of minutes will help you understand my thinking around that. I'm going to talk about basically four of our services. So those four services are bundled together. So they are in each bucket, under support, under professional services, education, and supply chain. There are a number of different services. So let's start with the two technology services that we are providing. So under support, it's all kind of support, level 1, level 2, and help desk. But we're also doing engineer to site to help our customers on site with assistance. We have a managed services capability where we can manage, but we can also monitor. And we have capabilities to do advanced hardware replacement. All of this are things that I'm going to talk about a little bit later. We then have our professional services, which is a little bit more advanced, which is more about higher technology skill sets normally, where we can act as consultants to do design work. We can do optimization work, a health check on customer site, but we can also do full deployment, rack and stack, and stuff like that. And then we have our training capability, or our education capability, which is of course a very important part to keep our customer, our partners, and our partners' customers upskilled. So we can provide that kind of service and keeping you guys up to date with the latest technology. It's instructor-led training, it's end customer training, it's reseller training, but everything is through you. We're not addressing any end users without your involvement. And then the fourth leg is our supply chain, and this is an area where we as a distributor has developed quite a lot of resource to make sure not only that we can supply a box from location 1 to 2, we also want to add value. It could be that we can stage, we can pre-configure, we could make sure that we export into countries where you might not have the experience or the knowledge to get the kit in at the best price, following any international or local rules. We have a whole team of people that are specialized in that specifically. So I'm gonna spend most of the rest of it to talk about exactly how this will benefit you, why you should be interested in this, and what benefit this is giving to you. So very short, it's all going to be about money and risk mitigation. But I'm going to talk about three specific areas where I think you are most interested in. I'm going to spend some time on how we can help you expand your capabilities, how we can reduce your cost and maximize your margin, and then talk about how we can simplify the supply chain. When I've gone through those, you will probably get my point, because they will all be covering most of the same services that we're providing. So let's kick this off with the first one, which is around how do we help our partners to expand your capabilities and your reach into new markets or new geographic areas. So let's see if we can change this. There we go. So first of all, through one of the things where I think we can add value is around providing you with skills and capabilities, because we believe and we understand that even though you have your own network of people, your own technicians, we do think that there will be situations where either you have lost a person or they are busy doing other stuff. We have 250 engineers throughout the globe. We have a big network of people that are able to support our partners. We are doing this in multi-language, in multi-vendors. We have a huge number of logistics centers and staging centers. So these are the kind of things that we can do to help you fill the gap where it comes to skills and capability or capacity. And this also goes for education, of course, making sure that we have training courses available so that you can keep your teams upskilled with the latest technology and the latest vendors in our portfolio. A part of that is also that we are providing project management and customer success management, which makes sure that whenever we get involved, we also make sure that there is nothing that falls between the cracks, that actually we take care of this from start to end. That's the first area. The second area, of course, here is portfolio. We've already talked a little bit about it. When there is a new technology in place, you might not already have the knowledge that you need or the capacity to be able to take on or to install or to roll out a big opportunity. Again, this is an area where we can add arms and legs and certified knowledge around cybersecurity, cloud, network and collaboration, data center vendors, and so on. But we're also able, from a portfolio perspective, to actually create customer tailor-made solutions, solutions that are addressing your specific needs. We have a history of creating specific solutions, even though the majority of what we sell are bundled, simple to use, well-priced service SKUs. But in many cases, we're also going into your customers together with you to look at what is the exact need here. Do they need to have technology as a service, or do they need a technician as a service, or is there a specific difficult export requirements that we need to take care of? All of these are things that we can add to your portfolio so that you can go after specific customers. And the third area here is, of course, the geographic footprint, where we, through our plus 70 countries where we are present today, and the 180 countries where we are distributing our products today, we can also add our services to that to support you and to reach countries, reach customers that you normally wouldn't be able to go after. Difficult countries like Myanmar, Pakistan, or Thailand are things that we have had experience with, for example. So we can help with our global footprint actually support global rollouts, even though it's only one site or two sites that are outside of your local area. It still could be interesting for you. Let me just share with you a couple of examples or a couple of cases where we've actually done this. So the first case here is all about a large opportunity with refresh and mitigation, migration for 86 sites rollout globally. I know that most of you will never go work on such a site, but even though I'm talking global here, this is happening in Europe. It's happening in countries where you have similar situations. So look at this as an opportunity also within country. In this specific case, the customer had a very tight timeline and they were about to lose their budget. They really wanted to get this out and get this done within a very short period of time. They also had a problem that they were working with so many different suppliers. So it took time. So we got involved, we worked with our reseller, and we basically put a project manager in place. We then added all of our services together with the reseller services and third parties, made sure that we then had follow that very tight timeline to get all of this implemented, rollout, handed over to the customer way before the very tight timeline. It helped the customer win the deal. It added more value, and it removed a lot of complexity from this specific customer. So one example of what we collectively together can do. The second alternative is about training. So again, I talked about specific training, specific services for specific needs. And as a consequence of the pandemic, we saw a specific customer saw an uptake, a need of specific security knowledge. What we did is that we put together 2-day virtual training courses, instructor-led, where we managed to get more than 50 engineers at the partner upskilled so that they now can deliver a better service to their customer, the service they need, and have another added revenue stream opportunity. So again, I understand that this will not fit everyone, but at least it will start you get ideas of what kind of services that we can do. The second pillar here is around reducing cost, maximizing margin, and minimizing risk. So all of this is about making sure that we are supporting you with the right services, making sure that you can be more profitable, making sure that you can access our services for specific customers, specific needs. And for that, we are providing very flexible service model with very flexible vendor usage. You can have multiple vendors, but you can also have different service levels, again, to tie in with what you are delivering and what the customer needs. We also have a model where you pay only for what you need. If you have a technician, your own technician, and you need an extra pair of hands, you're only paying for those extra pair of hands when you need them. With this, we can also add technologies or technicians when you have decided to, I want to go in with a new vendor, with a new technology, but I'm not in a position where I will have my technicians upskilled for another week or another month or another couple of months. If we have the capacity, we can help you win those deals until you have all of your people and all of your own resources available. So you can minimize your risk in getting those solutions out. And again, we're providing education, we're providing supply chain, all to minimize your risk, reduce your cost, and increase your margins. So it all touches all of our services here. Again, coming back to a specific use case, this is a specific situation where the customer had some capacity themselves, but they needed us to fulfill the full requirement of the customer. The customer was located in, again, multiple countries, multiple time zones. They also had a very complex setup with every office having their own infrastructure and different vendors, different security policies. I mean, I'm sure you've seen similar things like this. The partner couldn't deliver the service that the customer needed from a time zone perspective and the working hour perspective, but what they could do was that they could provide the solution, the complex solution. So we work together with the partner to get the right solution to the customer. We then added our centralized support capability, where we had a help desk that was 24/7, so we could follow the sun so that it was available at any time zone outside of normal working hours, and we delivered every kit pre-configured. So when it arrived on site, it was an easy installation. The outcome, obviously, was a much less complex situation, specifically from a customer management perspective. It reduces cost significantly. And again, it helped our customers to actually provide a service that was independent on time zones by combining what they had together what we could do together with them. All right. The third area that I wanted to touch on was the supply chain. So supply chain is for a distributor is normally, as I said before, it's a box being sent from location A to location B, not a big thing. But it's getting more and more complex, and the requirements for supply chain is constantly growing. And we have developed our services over the course of quite a number of years now to add more value. And some of the things we can do is, number one, with a more complex situation with Brexit, a more complex situation to get kit into other countries, we have a team of people that are experts in how to get a specific product, a specific solution from Europe to that specific country, or within Europe or outside to a more difficult country. And many of you might have been in situations where you try to export things into difficult countries and it's just eaten up all of your margin. We are doing this on a daily basis. We know what the pitfalls are, where the problems are, and we know what the cost will be already before we've started to ship. So we will mitigate your risk, but by actually telling you this is what it will cost. This is the import tax that you need to take into consideration if you need to get this into Brazil, for example. And there are also legal limitations, and we can actually mitigate that by using our knowledge to say this type of solution you are not allowed to send into this specific country. So that expertise is very valuable, and we're more than happy to help you with that. Pre-staging, I've mentioned a couple of times. I think it's important that everybody understands what we are able to do through our labs in our warehouses. We're able to do stuff, quite advanced stuff, to actually prepare the kit, the box, whatever you would like to have shipped to a specific location, making sure that it's ready to be installed or ready to put on site already when it arrived. But we can also do simpler stuff like putting in a brochure, putting in a contact card from yourself, have your own labels on the box, or even ship as a white label delivery. Our supply chain services can also handle full hardware life cycle management. So when you've shipped something out to a different country and the kit is to be sent back, or it's going to be replaced, that's a service that we're also on a daily basis are providing everywhere in the world. Again, it's not always hard only to get the kit into a country. It's sometimes also hard to get that kit back. And again, we have the experts to be able to do that. And then fourth and finally, we're also able to provide warehouse and logistics partnerships. So there are customers that are using our warehouses for their kit, so that we can combine kit we have in stock with the kit that they want to have, so that we can have one shipment directly to the end user. So again, I'm not giving you everything we can do a lot more, but just to get you start thinking about what opportunities actually would fit you. Is there anything here, any pain point that actually Westcon could probably help you mitigate by using our services? So I have two use cases more that I just wanted to mention. This specific case is again a multi-country deployment for a global provider. In this specific case, it was a lot of small deliveries into multi-country and multi-sites. The problem with this specific customer was that he was very demanding, and he had a very short time from when the PO was visible for the customer, for our partner, until it needed to be on site. And there was very little visibility on what type of solutions they needed to what country. So it was an operational nightmare. But we worked with the customer, we worked with our partner, and we implemented a much simplified process to secure that we could deliver this together in time. So changed our inventory management for this specific customer. We added staging and config on all of the kit that was specific to every site. We simplified the PO process, helped the customer changing their process. And we had a very strong relationship with the partner to actually make sure that we had somebody picking or receiving the kit when it arrived. So installation was happening on time, every time. And the outcome was that we delivered 1,839 sites in 16 countries, all on time, after this deal was signed. And the result was also for the customer that we could add more. All right, so that's specifically to simplifying the supply chain. There is one more case, and it's not specifically to supply chain, but it's something that is a growing demand and has been growing over the course of the last year specifically. And I think it's important to mention that this is now also an option, and that is around technology as a service, where your customers, instead of actually buying a unit, they want to buy a service. In this specific case, it was a customer that wanted to place a very big 3-year license with us. The problem, of course, was that the vendor was not willing to provide a quarterly billing as the customer wanted. So we worked again with the partner and our financial services company, and we managed to get in place a 3-year subscription for this service, where we're invoicing the partner and the customer, or the customer, on a quarterly basis, exactly as the customer wanted, but we paid the vendor according to their payment terms. In this way, we can actually we could actually reach both the customer need and still keep the vendor happy. And this is something that is growing, and it's not only going to be these kind of solutions, but we see now more and more requirements for adding hardware, software, services, and maybe even third-party hardware into one solution that is then invoiced as a service rather than just upfront. I have a couple of more slides very, very quickly before I'm done. So I'm going to try to wrap this up. So hopefully you have got a okay view of what we're able to provide from a service perspective. I've just scratched the surface. So please challenge us. Please come to us and ask if there are things that you specifically would like to see us look into, because we are very eager to help you reach your goals in the coming years. It is a challenging time, and I'm sure there are things that we can do differently for you. Hopefully you have seen that we can now fill all of those 6 circles in the outside, or actually 7, with our services to support your project lifecycle. And even if you only need 1 for a couple of types of orders, that's okay. The service is there, and the service is there for you to be more successful. The final slide is basically the call to action. So, as I said before, please challenge us. I would urge you to first make sure that you visit our virtual booth after this event and meet with my colleagues there and discuss the opportunities that you might see. Talk to your Westcon account manager, the person that you normally talk to within Westcon, and he can absolutely help you with ideas or even guide you in the right direction if you have a specific opportunity. And thirdly, go visit our services portal on westconcomstore.com. There you will have a full number of material where you can deep dive into all of our different services, our capability matrix, some videos, and more details on the case stories and more that out of the ones that I presented earlier on. That is the end of my deck. Thank you very much for your attendance. I now hand over to Daniel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Martin. Very nice to see all of our capabilities. So this is that was great. Just one more comment. A lot of our researchers thinks that the international deployment and that of course we can help with when it comes to the hardware, and they don't ask themselves what could we do on the software side or the services. This is also very, very important. As you know, in the past we didn't have any tax when we sent a services or a software license from one country to the other. When we used to have tax and duty and customs, as you know, when we ship the hardware from one country to another one. But now government did become very, very smart, and they create a new tax a few years ago called the WHT, so the withholding tax, which is on the software and licenses, everything which is intangible. So to make sure that we can support you to export also the licenses in different countries, we are, as Martin mentioned, we are an import of record, so we can help you to recover tax in the different countries where you don't have legal entities. So please come back to us, ask for what we could do for you to help you and support if you have any international deployment, and that could be for hardware or it could be for software. So thank you so much again, Martin. It was crystal clear about our capabilities. I would like to come back to the breakout sessions and the IoT and OT security together with Eric. You know, this market is a very big market, and it seems that according to Statista, the IoT OT security market would be close to $37 billion, which is one of the the largest market in the next 2 to 3 years. He will compete in terms of market size with the managed security services, which is around $40 billion. High growth as well. But okay, long story short, I would like to thank you everyone for your contribution for this first day. Of course, the speakers, but also the panelists together with me this morning. And also would like to encourage you to be with us again tomorrow. Tomorrow will be again another great day where we will talk about two markets, the ZTA, the Zero Trust Access, and also the secure cloud and DevOps security market. So I will be very happy to have you again tomorrow, and I will welcome the Senior Vice President of Westcon in Europe, René Klein, who will make the introduction session together with me. So again, thank you. It was a pleasure to be with you this morning and a bit this afternoon. I hope that you did challenge us on the booth. I hope that you find a lot of hidden shields, security shields in a different booth, so you can win your S21 or iPhone 12. So again, thank you so much. Really appreciate to be with you, and look forward to meeting virtually with you again tomorrow. Thank you, and have a great day.